All right, so today we are reviewing a 2022 Porsche 911 Carrera S. And to me, this is the Porsche that most people end up with. Not necessarily a turbo, a GT3, GT4, none of that type of stuff. This is what you'll see people with, either this or the regular 911 Carrera. So I'm on vacation down in Miami, and I got one of these turbos, so I figured why not review this one, because most people review the turbos and all the other ones. So just kind of look at the exterior. It's a fly yellow. I'm not even sure the exact paint code. I'll put it in the comments what it is. And we've been driving it around, and it's been quite fun. Excuse the bird excrements on the back, but it's nice. And I'll do a little bit more of a deep dive here in a second. Taking a closer inspection, one thing I noticed about this 911, and I don't know if it's stock, but I assume as a turbo car, this wouldn't be modified. I mean, it doesn't seem any real reason to, but this car is extremely low to the ground for just a 911 Carrera S. And of course, in typical S fashion, it does have the red calipers for the brakes, and of course this does have aftermarket wheels, so maybe my previous comments about being lowered, maybe it was, maybe something's been modified, but these certainly are not the factory wheels on this car. Now, of course, in modern Porsche fashion, this is all you get in terms of maintenance. So it's not too different from the Cayman and Boxster of today's world, which is just coolant and oil. And that's it. I mean, a couple coolant fans, there's nothing really you can get to from a simple opening of the rear latch. It is what it is. Much has been said about Porsche brakes, and this Carrera S is, of course, part of that rich heritage. And I believe these are 4-piston brakes up front. Of course, with these silly, gigantic wheels, the rotors look small, but trust me, the smug stops. Same goes for in the back. A very heavy braking system. Now, this car does have Vossen wheels, which are clearly aftermarket, but they look nice on here. I'm not going to front. Now, of course, in typical 911 fashion, this is a 2+2. Many people say this backseat is not functional, but we've been rolling 4 deep on this trip here with 2 people up front, 2 people in the back. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but, you know, it is there in case it's needed. And on this time on this trip, it certainly has been. So I would be remiss if I didn't show getting inside the 911 backseat. A lot of people think these backseats aren't real, can't hold somebody. I'm 5'10", you know, I'm slight slim build, so let's see if I squeeze back there how it is. As you can see, I'm in here. I would not come back here for a long time though. This is pretty funny. Now for kids and stuff like that, no big deal, but this is wild. As you can see, I'm in here, but this is not comfortable. I wouldn't be in here for a very long time. And this is the reason why I say it's wild. You can see, I cannot get my head straight, and this is how I fit in here. But there are 4 seats in here. Of course, in typical Porsche fashion, the 911 has maintained the same gauge cluster, and even with a digital dash, which on this one, the 2 left clusters and the 2 right clusters are digital, with the center still being an analog needle with a LCD screen in the middle. Still serves a purpose, shows a lot of data and stuff like that. And in case of this one here, kind of the cool things are, you can see a lot of things going on. So making sure you select it first, which it shows red once you have it selected, you can kind of dial through, select what you want, confirm, and then what's neat is, like I was showing here, you can get the whole map here, as well as on the main screen, as has been traditional in most Porsches previously. Of course, you know, G-force, tire pressure, and all the other nice technical information and bits that go along with this. The secondary clusters on the left maintain your speedometer and temperature and stuff like that. And of course, for me, at least in my Porsche, I always just rely on the speedometer here in the middle underneath the tach, because it's just much easier to look at while focusing on the road. And as noted by many other reviewers, this still has the Norelco looking like shifter. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I'm not going to harp on it. It does a function. It puts it in drive, reverse, and then the buttons for park and I guess manual mode. You have your tactile buttons here for sport, wet, suspension settings and stuff like that, hazards and turned off traction control. And of course, then you have your basic infotainment system here for the Porsche, which this seems to be maintained throughout the model line. This is the same system here. It's a little busy for my liking, but it does work. One thing though, when you do CarPlay or whatever, it does not use the whole screen, and I think that's an opportunity missed here. As configured, I have to look up and see what Carrera S with these features, because when it has heated seats, I don't know if it initially has the optional stereo or anything like that on here. So this 911 is pretty much equipped how I would normally equip one if I was going to buy one brand new. It has the base features I would want: heated seats, adaptive cruise control, lane keep assistant, all these other functions that are standard on other cars. But, you know, with Porsche, they nickel and dime you through there, and I'll show here a quick screenshot of what the Porsche configurator looks like. You pay for every little thing, but it's a gift and a curse. Like, Porsche is one of the most customizable brands. There are other brands, Acura, where if you pick a certain color, you can only get certain interior colors. But Porsche, in their hands, lets you customize every aspect of the car, but you pay for every little thing. Driving the 2022 Porsche 911, which is the Porsche that most people would buy. You know, it's nice. I can't lie. I can't front. I really like it. I mean, it's not in my budget right now, but as I'm reviewing it and enjoying this while I'm in here in South Florida, I don't see, for your average person who likes Porsches, if there's any need for anything more than this. Of course, those are only words I'm saying because I'm not driving a Porsche Turbo, but heck, I think it's nice. All right, so we're driving the 992 Porsche 911 Carrera S this morning. Just kind of give a little bit of a spiel on what it's like. So, you know, again, you have the 5 gauge clusters, and the one thing I would say, and I'm not sure if the camera's really demonstrating it, from my viewpoint, where the steering wheel is, you cannot easily see the fuel gauge. Now, yeah, you got to crane your neck around and to look, but from here, it's not really all that visible. Same thing goes for the time and temperature. So I don't know. I'm not. The last Porsche 911 I spent a lot of time in would have been a 996, and I don't recall the 2 outside clusters being blocked as much by the steering wheel. Maybe they were. I don't know. But that's just one of the little oddities here. Outside of that, I mean, you got your standard PCM, nice widescreen now in the 992 generation of Porsche. The one thing I will say though is when you're using it with CarPlay or Android Auto, it does not fill the whole screen. You just get a part of it, like about that wide or whatever, and then you get some other stuff on there. So it's not very clean in CarPlay, and I think it's a lot of wasted space. Of course, the backup camera on here is pretty neat with its overhead view. I've liked mostly this view here, which shows you the size. So if you're parking this thing next to a curb, it's great. Of course, those who are familiar with 911 know it has extra wide hips, so this is real helpful when you're trying to get into those parallel parking spots. You know, the PDK on here is the same as it is been in most Porsches and other loaners I've driven. It drives nice, shifts smoothly, it's snappy, it's everything you want. Of course, my personal Porsche is a manual transmission. I would certainly love to have a PDK because I think at this point I'm over it. But, you know, this is a lot of money as an upgrade, and I don't know if that's in the cards for me here in the near future. So, but driving those fairly comfortable. I mean, suspension is what it should be for a Porsche 911. It's firm. I mean, I don't think it's uncomfortable for daily driving or whatever. I mean, it is what it is. It's not going to be plush or maybe as soft as Porsche's other products like the Porsche Cayenne or the Macan, but it does what it needs to do. Now, me preferencing the way this car handles, I am a much bigger fan of the Cayman and Boxster. I drive a 97 Boxster. I've driven a 981 Cayman and the 982 generation, and it just, I don't know, even the older 911 that I've driven, the 996, there's a feeling with the way this car feels around a turn, which is just slightly off-putting, and I can't put my finger on it. But that's not this car problem, it's just a Kurt problem, really. So one of the interesting parts of Porsche in their recent history with the 911, they are all turbo, every car in the lineup. So thanks GPS. So by that, it's really just badging that just says, hey, this is that, this is whatever. And so this car has a 3-liter. All right, so some great Porsche sound for your soundtrack. Here we go. All right, so just a little bit of sound to understand the beautiful noise, the harmonic noise of a Porsche engine. Here we go. So I think this car might have a valved exhaust. I'm gonna press do this in sport mode and let's hear the difference. 1, 2, 3, go. Of course, can't be a Porsche without the fuel filling situation, which is in the front, which I always think is find to be neat. Anyways, figured I'd film this, even though most people who watch these type of channels probably already notice about Porsches, but there it is. All right, I gotta make note of this. Come on, Florida. When you come inside the 911 Carrera, here's what you agreed with on the dashboard. And of course, for a start, the key, which is also not a push button, but it also doesn't come out, is just a little turn. You get your chime, and let's go. So one thing I will say, and I don't have it to evidence it, but if the car had been sitting overnight for a while and you start it up, it takes forever for the PCM system to boot up and get CarPlay or anything going. Since I've just been driving it, and now I'm deciding to film this for you guys, it fires right up. But just something to take note of. So everybody, that is the 2022 Porsche 911 Carrera S. Sweet ride. As I was saying before, this is the Porsche that I believe that most people should buy and probably do buy. I need to look at the sales numbers, and maybe I can put it in the comments or in the description section, see if I'm right. Yes, there's the Turbo S, there is the GT3, GT4. Those are specialty Porsches, one-off. More, I wouldn't say necessarily one-off, but purpose Porsches for people who are going to spend more time on the track. I think the 911 Carrera S is for somebody who wants that Porsche experience. I think you get it all. It's fast. I mean, don't get me wrong, 440 horsepower or whatever is nothing to sneeze at, and it gets up and moves. So anyways, that's the 911. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed this this commentary on the car. Please subscribe, like, tell your friends, and continue watching, and we'll see you next time.